understand that joy is a choice. Sometimes we allow ourselves to be sad, upset, when really a choice, a thought process can change that. And although sometimes we like to say or think that I'm down now, it's not out of my control, I'm upset now, the reality is most of the times we can choose to be happy. Most of the times we can leave sadness behind. So as we read these sections from the Zohar, first we're going to learn, hopefully be awakened in consciousness to why it is so important for our spiritual connection, so important for our ability to draw light and blessings into our lives, so important to be able to receive the guidance and clarity that we need to push for happiness. So while it is true that in this month there is an awakening of an abundance of joy in the world, what we want to receive is not just the joy that is given or the joy that is available. We want to learn and have the strength to be pushing ourselves towards joy all the time. Pushing ourselves towards joy all the time. And I'll share with you again another story. And from this, again, I learned how to choose joy in a moment. This story goes back maybe 20, 25 years. At the time, we lived in Queens, and that was the only center at the time. The only center in New York. And it was Friday night when we begin the connection for Shabbat. And, for me, making the connection, especially what's called the Amidah, the silent connection, is very important. And I remember I was standing there in the war room where we make the connections in silent prayer. And I was doing my prayer, and people around me, I guess, had finished theirs, and they started talking, making a lot of noise. And my initial reaction, my initial thought was, I'm really upset. I mean, don't you understand? We're in this room to make a connection. It's not right for them to be making so much noise while other people, including myself, are trying to make a connection. And then I did the following. Maybe because I remembered some of these teachings from the Zohar. I said to myself, imagine that you were a homeless person. And this group of people in this room saw you on the street and they invited you into their home and are letting you, and it was cold outside, they're letting you stay here. Do you have any right to be upset at them? Do you have any right to have any anger towards them? Of course not. You're just so overwhelmed with appreciation and thankful that they allowed you into their home. And then I finished my prayer with joy. And the understanding is that we have the ability more often than not to choose joy, to choose happiness. We allow ourselves often to wallow, to stay in anger, in upset, in sadness, when we should be choosing. And again, as we said, I hope that from these teachings from the Zohar, we become awakened to the danger of not pushing for joy. Not section 93. And by the way, it's from the Zohar in Tetzaveh, section 93. And by the way, and I strongly recommend it anytime, today, tomorrow, throughout this, the Zohar here says, Tachazeh, come and see. Alma teta'ah, this physical world, Kaima lekabla tadir. It is an effect of the upper world, and they stand parallel. The physical world within which we live, and the spiritual realm from which blessing and light come, they are exactly parallel to each other. The Alma Ilah, the supernal world, again the source of blessings, the source of light. Lo Yavle does not give what it gives in any form of its light, of its blessings, or otherwise. Ella kegavna di'ihu kaima. It gives you and I and this world where we are, what we are. What your state of mind, what your state of consciousness is, that's what the supernal world will give to you. It's a very important and powerful world. You receive, I receive, each of us receives where we are, what we are. And the Zohar continues. If you are, as it says, with a shining face, if you are joyful, if you are happy in this world, in that moment, in that time, Kedein hachi, so too, naharin le milaela. You will be showered from the upper world's joy. As you exist in this world, so too will shine, will be given to you from the supernal worlds. The ihu kaima ba'tzivu. if you hold on to sadness, if an individual holds on to an upset, unfortunately, then that person will be drawing upon him or herself, chas v'shalom, that sense of judgment. So what we learn from here is that it's not only good to be happy because it makes you feel good, but actually what the Zohar is telling us is that if you want light, if you want blessings, then you have to be happy. Because what you receive, you cannot be depressed and draw blessings. You cannot be sad and draw the light of happiness. You receive, the Zohar says, and is received in this world to every person where they are. So therefore the first thing we want to learn from this section in the Zohar, in Tetzaveh, is that it's dangerous not to be happy. And again, it doesn't mean that there aren't moments in time that sadness comes in, something happens that's very upsetting. The Zohar uses the term kaima be'atzivu, holding on to that sadness. Holding on to that upset. Yes, things happen and there's nothing wrong within the moment that somebody does something or something occurs to feel that sadness. But it is dangerous, the Zohar is telling us, to be kaima be'atzivu, to hold on and reside in that state. The first thing the Zohar is teaching us, again, so powerful, that you and I, we receive where we are. If you are in a place of happiness, if you are pushing yourself to be in a place of happiness, then you receive from above blessings. And I was thinking about this, all of us have moments in our lives that we're about to do something very important. You're about to go into a very important meeting. You're about to try to accomplish something important to you. What the Zohar is telling us, if you want there to be light, don't go in there sad. Don't go in there upset. You have to push yourself to a state of happiness so that the blessings and the light can manifest through you and to you in this world. Because again, the first teaching from the Zohar, we receive where we are, who we are, what state of consciousness, of emotion that we are in, so too we receive from the upper worlds. And I'll just again read this last section. Chedva de barnash, the joy of an individual, mashech legabe chedva achra'ila, draws even greater joy, supernal joy into our lives. Hachinami hai alma teta'ak gavna diit atat. When the state that we are in, and especially when we have the power, the ability to awaken joy, not only are we happy in that moment, but we're actually able to draw from the upper worlds greater and greater light. So again, even though it's not good to be scared sometimes, and what we want to ask for this evening is to be a little bit scared of being sad. To be a little bit scared of being upset. Again, things happen and in the moment you become sad, and in the moment you become upset. The Zohar is talking about kaima be'atzivu. The Zohar is talking about that time that we choose, no, I'm going to hold on to that state of upset. I'm going to hold on to that sadness. Remind yourself, it's not worth it. Because if I want to be able to receive great light and great blessings, I have to be pushing for a state of happiness, for a state of joy, so that I can draw from the upper world's light and blessings and even greater joy and happiness. That's the first teaching. The second teaching is from the Zohar in Vayera, section 400. The Zohar says, quotes from Psalms, from King David, Tastir panecha yibahelu. It says in Psalms that when the face of the Creator, the light of the Creator is hidden, that causes fear. Tastir panecha yibahelu. When the light of the Creator is concealed, then that awakens fear. Mikan, from here we learn, the Zohar says, She'ein hakadosh baruch hu oseh ra'a leshum adam. Nothing negative can come from the light of the Creator. When the light of the Creator is there with you, when it is in your presence, nothing negative can happen. And therefore, when the light of the Creator is revealed, no negativity in any form occurs to the individual. Elak she'eino mashgiach bo. But when the individual, through his or her consciousness, allows the light of the Creator to be removed from them, hu kalem elav, then chas v'shalom, the individual allows negativity to enter into their lives. And therefore, azai, when an individual pushes themselves to joy, Because what happens, as we will learn from the Zohar, when a person is in a state of sadness, when a person is in a state of upset, when they are not pushing themselves towards joy, then the light of the Creator does not reside with them. And when the light of the Creator does not reside with them, then chas v'shalom, it opens up the individual to all types of negativity. Taster panecha yibahelu. And therefore, again, even though it's the month of joy, we're talking a little bit about fear, but we're talking about the fear of holding on to sadness. The Rav would often use the term that I think it takes years to even understand what the Rav meant, but the Rav always said, people hug their chaos. Everybody experiences chaos. But then there's the choice to hug that chaos or to let go of that chaos. Everybody experiences sadness. Everybody experiences upset. But there's a choice at some point to hold on to it or to let it go. And what the Zohar here is telling us again, the danger in not letting go when you can of that sadness, of not pushing towards a state of joy when you can, and fighting for it. Because usually we think it's passive. This day something happened, I'm happy. Tomorrow something happened, I'm sad. We can't allow ourselves to be in that state of reactivity towards that emotion of joy or upset or sadness. Yes, again, it happens. But when you have the choice, the question is, am I pushing myself to be happy? Am I fighting against sadness? Am I fighting against upset? Or, as the Rav said, am I just hugging that chaos? Staying in that state and being okay with it. So the second thing we learned from the Zohar, King David says, if an individual allows themselves to remain in that state, they open up, they allow the light of the Creator to leave, and they allow any type of negativity to enter. So therefore, again, the reason we don't want to allow that state of sadness to remain with us is because it opens up all kinds of other negativity that can enter into our lives. The third teaching from the Zohar, which is related to this, is from the Zohar in Vayeshev, section 29. Shchinta lo sharia be'atar atzilu. Shchinta, the Shekhinah, represents the female aspect of the light of the Creator. Our spiritual protector, our spiritual guide. The Zohar says, there are times in life you're feeling clear. You understand what you need to do, you have clarity about what you're doing, and then there are times of confusion. The state of clarity, or the state when everything is clear to you, what you need to do and how you need to do it, that comes from what we call the Shekhinah, or the female aspect of the light of the Creator. But that aspect of the light of the Creator, the Zohar tells us, Lo sharia be'atar atzilu, cannot rest, cannot reside in a place of sadness. When a person is in a state of sadness, what's called the light of the Shekhinah cannot be with them, and therefore they cannot experience clarity. They cannot experience the clarity that comes with that presence of what's called the Shekhinah. Ella be'atar de'it be'chedva. The light of the Creator can only rest in a place where there is joy. If you're not clear about something, if you're confused, if you need direction, the Zohar is telling us the way to get there, and also the way not to get there. The way not to get there, again, if you hold on to your sadness, if you hold on to your chaos, if you hold on to your upset, late Shchinta Sharia, the light of the Creator, that female aspect of the Creator that is called the Shekhinah, that guides us, that clarifies for us, that protects us, cannot rest while we are in that state of sadness. Ella be'atar de'it be'chedva, rather only in a place where there is joy. Ichedva leit be lo sharia shchinta be'hu atar. If there is no joy there, that light of the Creator that gives us direction and clarity cannot reside there. And again, as I mentioned earlier, for me it's exciting to be reading the sections of the Zohar to all of us this evening, because besides any understanding if it's true, as the Zohar says, that the light of the Creator and direction and clarity can only rest where there is joy, when the individual is pushing themselves to joy, we know that, as we said, there are times when you're not feeling joyful. You're feeling stressed, you're feeling sad, you're feeling upset. The Zohar says the following: King David, who always wanted to be directed by the light of the Creator, who always wanted to have clarity, who always wanted to have that protection of the light of the Creator, he said, and there were times, and he had challenges in his life, those of us who know the historical story. But when he needed clarity, it says, "V'haya kenagen hamenagen, v'tihi alav ruach elokim." So King David knew, okay, so today something terrible happened in one of those days with his son. So he had a choice, and he felt confused, and he felt sad. He said, I want clarity, I want direction in my life, but I'm sad. So what worked for King David, and this is what we want to receive on this evening, he would call somebody to come and play the harp or some music for him, because that music would raise his spirits, would bring him joy, and then Vatihi alav ruach Elokim, then the light of the Creator, the Shekhinah, came to him and started giving him direction and clarity. King David was afraid of sadness. King David was clear that while you are in that state of holding on to your sadness, you cannot receive direction and clarity. And therefore he used a trick. His trick was to start having somebody come play music for him. And when that happened, and joy left, and sadness left him, but Tihi alav ruach Elokim, the light of the Creator rested upon him and gave him clarity, and gave him direction, and gave him joy. These are the three understandings and what we ask for this evening. Yes, there is the overabundance of joy. But maybe, and again, not to be negative, but maybe what we need this evening is to awaken a healthy fear of sadness. Again, not when it comes, as we said, you have an experience. That next moment, what the Zohar calls holding on to the sadness. Why? Because you won't be able to achieve clarity and direction without awakening sadness. Because you cannot awaken blessings from above unless you are in that state of joy. And as we are in this world, whatever state we're in, that's the type of light and energy that we draw into our lives.